Hi, friends. Welcome back to It's a Doc's Life. I'm Doc, and today the mission's going to be taking apart my daughter's 2006 Jeep Wrangler. We picked up this Jeep for her a couple months ago, back in August, if I remember correctly. And I've replaced a signal light module, I suppose. Signal lights and headlights are encompassed in the same area in the steering column. So I replaced that, have a video on that. But I knew when I bought the Jeep that it had a leaking heater core, and I knew that I was going to have to work on that. So today's mission is to take that apart. Most people, whenever they work on that component of the vehicle, we also replace the air conditioning evaporator core, because it's right there in the same suitcase, I guess, the same packet. So I'm going to go replace the whole thing. Both those I'll have to recharge the air conditioner and do a lot of other things as well. But I'll take you along. I'm probably not going to record every step. I'll kind of do a summary as I go and let you know kind of how I did it. But it won't be each and every part. It'll just be, or it won't be a step-by-step, blow-by-blow. There are plenty of those out there. I will let you know what I think that I see based upon the things that I learn as I go. But otherwise, I'll just kind of give you a summary as I go through each part. So I hope that it's something that, number one, I can finish pretty quickly, and number two, that there's some elements of it that I can share with you and help you to kind of minimize the amount of time and the frustration that you might have with it as well. So let's get started. Well, as John Fogerty once wrote, things got bad and things got worse. And I guess you know the tune. So far, I haven't really accomplished what I wanted, which was to open up the dash, but I wanted to take apart the seats, get the seats out because they need to be cleaned, and I want to, vacuum everything up. And I don't want to have to fight with the seats and the dash and everything else. The rear seat was a problem, and I will show you what I'm talking about here. As you can see, things have escalated quickly. A big escalation right here because I had to pull the whole seat apart. And primarily I pulled the whole seat apart because of this. These cables with the latch mechanism. You pull up on this, mounts on the seat back, the back seat. You pull up. This obviously has two pulls, and they would each pull one of these cables. Both the cables were rusted and broken. No worky. And the problem now, this is the end that goes in the plastic handle up there. The problem now is that you cannot buy this assembly anymore. Discontinued, no longer works. Got to come up with another system because this one ain't going to be it. Don't know what the system's going to be. I'm going to have to do some engineering, and I will do that. I'm going to clean up these seat bolts and kind of get to work on. I'm going to clean the seats and get them all cleaned up. Clean up the seat bolts, but that's minor stuff. Back seat's going to wait a while. I'll probably have it out for a while. I took the cover off and just have it hanging over the back of those seats. I'm going to get after the rest of this now and actually do what I meant to do earlier today, which is to take the entire dash assembly out. So a couple of things that I would recommend. Definitely recommend taking the seats out just in order to get some. You've got to move so much stuff already, and it's so likely that you're going to break something that taking the console out, you have to move it back anyway. You might as well take it completely out. It gives you a chance to clean everything. The seats are just kind of in the way. I'm going to have to drop the steering column, and the whole dash has to be moved around so much. It doesn't make sense to mess around with it. I'm just going to, I'll just say that. It doesn't make sense to mess around with it. Take it out, get it out of your way, give yourself some room to work, clean up the space, clean up your seat backs, clean up the mounting bolts. I'm going to paint them up. I'll put everything back together correctly and make it work. And then like I said, I'm going to have to keep the rear seat out anyway. There's no way I'm going to be able to get this finished. I want to get the Jeep back on the road in a couple days. I've got tonight and tomorrow. I want to try to get everything out, kind of get it back together from the standpoint of the heater core and from the standpoint of the evaporator core. I want to get those two things wrapped up. So the rest of the evening, I get to spend doing what I thought I was going to be doing earlier today. Didn't get to it as I had hoped. And, you know, that's the way it works. What I try to do is to not build my hopes too high. You want to get a lot of things done, but mission creep is a real thing. You start to find other things that you want to address while you're there. And knew I was going to have to spend some time on this, so I've budgeted the time. You know, none of us have enough time, so it's not like I have an abundance, but I'm going to make the time and try to do it in a way that I'm going to be happier with the result. I want to get the back seat fixed so I can get it out, but it's not my Jeep. It's my daughter's Jeep. And I want to make a system that would enable her to pull it out if she wants to. Right now, it's pretty difficult. You can use screwdrivers or you know, some sort of pry bar to pry up the locks. But I want a better system than that, and I've got to kind of envision what that'll be. I guess once I come up with whatever it is, I will let you know. And if somebody out there has a system that works pretty well as a replacement, you can let me know. I do know that the 2007 and later up to through 2010, 2011 have a very similar system which you can still buy. It is not the same, and I'm not sure if it would work in this case. I may buy one just to see if I can retrofit the cables, not the handle. The handle's different, so the handle won't work, but maybe the cables will work in this handle. Don't know. The handle's in good shape, so I may try that. If so, I'll let you know how that works, but that'll probably be a later video. So let me get after this, and hopefully at some point I'll be able to update you on all the things. Wow is all I can say. I've been working on this Jeep for a couple of, well, not a couple of days. I do all kinds of other things, so it's an hour here, an hour there, but I've taken a lot of things apart. I need to show you kind of what this is. It's been lengthy in terms of just kind of making sure I have things done. And as I said on an earlier video, it has been mission creep because I have other things that I want to get done in the process, and it doesn't make sense not to do them now. I'm going to repaint the battery box, for instance. I'm going to work on the seats, for instance. These are things I was going to have to do at some point, and I'm going to have it apart, so we're going to work on that. So this is kind of where we are. I am going to also repaint the bracket that holds the parking brake, and that's rusty, and yeah, it's hidden. I want to paint it anyway. So to give you a little bit of an idea of what I kind of recommend, a lot of people that I've seen take the entire dash apart, the radio comes out, all kinds of things. As best I can tell, that really isn't necessary. I think you can, what I did is I dropped, you can see that the steering column itself, I've dropped that down a bit. Maybe you can see that. I dropped it down, I took the bolts loose, and I've just got it hanging by a couple of turns on the bolts, on the nuts, I should say. Disconnected all of the various hoses and such here. Taking off, I don't know that I need to take the fuse panel off. I may put that back because I don't think that has anything to do with the actual suitcase coming out. So yeah, you don't need to do as much as some people do. And I'm not going to do as much as some people do, because if I can drop this out now, I've probably got it pretty close. I may have to swing this around a bit more, and I'll have to see. If I do, I may have to lift the dash up a little bit more on the driver's side. But the strap is a thing that works pretty well. As I said, I've taken the battery box out. I'm going to kind of clean this up a little bit, paint that up. But these, I think you got 5 of these fasteners right here. And they are essentially, I can't remember, 7/16 with a female Torx head on this bolt here. Stud's supposed to be, but the stud turns, so you have to kind of keep an eye on that. At any rate, I would recommend patience with this because there's no need to take as many things apart as perhaps some people might think, but you got to take a lot of things apart. And if you keep your head, what I noticed is that when you start to put it back together, these brackets sit right up on these studs. So you're going to have an automatic alignment mechanism in place. Seems to work pretty well. We'll see. I'm going to finish tearing it all down, and I've got the air conditioner evaporator core coming. I'm going to have to go pick up some O-rings to put the new evap core in. I want to clean the suitcase. This Jeep is really, I'm impressed with how clean it is. It's not super rusty, so not unhappy at all with the Jeep, but I do need to really get after this and finish this up. So I'm gonna keep going. I will try to update you as I go and let you know what's happening. One of the things I would recommend, this is something that I kind of started doing early, but be sure I actually took the light switches that go in the door jambs. I took those loose because they were going to get broken by the dash. The dash has a cutout, and when you start to move that thing around, it moves up and down. Mounting bolts for the dash, 3 on each side. These are nuts that go on the dash on the passenger side. 2 more nuts for the steering column. The 3, oh, somebody must be hunting out here. I saw 2 8-point bucks the other day, so not here, but close by. So we got 3 more dash fasteners. These are the 4 bolts that go in the brackets across the top of the dash, right next to the windshield to hold it in place. And then I have other things here which I have just, I've kind of labeled and put them in the cardboard to hold them so I don't have to worry about that. Organization and perseverance is the key. If you can't be organized, you're in trouble. And if you don't have perseverance, don't even start, because once you're in it, you are in it, and there's no way around it. It's not that hard. It just requires doing the next step, the next step, the next step. I wouldn't want to do it without taking the seats out. I see a lot of people who do it and they don't take the seats out, but that doesn't make sense to me because you're fighting with that the whole time, and they're only 4 bolts. So you can take them out for each side, so 8 bolts total. You take them out and you're much better from that perspective. The console, absolutely pull that out before you start. Put the shifter down in first gear. I don't believe I'll have to pull the steering column, so again, if it works, I'll let you know, and we'll see what I recommend as the course of action. I see what a lot of other people do. I'm not going to do that step-by-step video because I don't think it's necessary. But if you can learn a few tidbits on it that may help you, then I'll try to bring those along. Quick update on the Jeep. The heater box is out. So types of things you got to work on. You got to take loose the radio antenna. You got to do a few other odds and ends here. This bolt comes in from the bottom through the box itself. You got to take the air scoops loose. There's actually a hose that goes here. This hose goes over here on this side. The whole thing attaches to the top of the heater box. I'll show you. It attaches, right, it just sits down over this part right here. So it just sits right down, or this comes up into it. It's got some little, they're really foam insulators that go behind the five studs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 studs. You see I had to cut that one off. It was not going to come out. And I'm going to have to work on that. Got some junk in here I need to clean. You have to evacuate your air conditioning, so be sure you do that before you ever start. I've failed to mention that, but it's got to be done. So that's got to be done, and you need to get both the heater core and the evaporator core. Now, another thing that's important is that you've got one of the studs goes here, one here, one down here, which you might be able to see. These two actually go through this mount for this. I think this is the dryer canister. One goes back here on the top and one goes on the bottom. The one on the bottom actually goes through this. And this is the drain for the cowl area. So the cowl is right in the center. This sits right up in there. There's a foam gasket that goes around here. It is junk. It fell completely apart. Right there it is. Fell completely apart. This goes up there. You put one nut on, and then this slides over the stud over that nut, and then another nut goes on top of that. So when you get the first 5 nuts off, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you get them off, this will still be in there behind the engine, on the back side of the engine. You got to take this loose, pull it out. There's another nut hiding behind it, and there you go. Then you got it. So now I've got to break this apart, and I will update you as soon as I get that done and kind of let you know what that looks like, what types of things you need to be concerned about. Really, all of this, all these vacuum lines will come apart. One vacuum line in the front from the engine bay has to come loose, so get that done before you start pulling things apart. But that comes out. This vacuum line attaches to, actually, it attaches to a canister. I think it stayed inside the Jeep. Let me double check myself. Sorry. No, it obviously did not, so I didn't probably have to take that one loose. So I'll put that one back here shortly. It'll have to go back in. This goes in the metal bracket there. I don't know where this one goes, but I will figure it out when I put it back in the area there. I just don't recall where it goes. I know it's obvious when I get in there, but right now, not very obvious. Oh, it may go on this. Oh, here it is. Yeah, it goes on this, I think. Yeah, it goes on this door, which I've already taken loose. There's the, I'm sorry. I'm looking without keeping you here. It goes right here on this door. There's a port right there. This mounts on here, and the port's going to be facing back this way, so it's perfect. It lines right up. Sits on, actually it sits on like, I think, yeah, it sits right on like that right there. So you got the port back here, and this plugs into it. But I had to take it loose. I did have to take it loose so I could pull this off, so it was better than I thought. I'm going to clean everything out. We'll do that tomorrow. It's not going to be today's job. This has turned into, I don't even know how many days I've been working on it. Several. But I'm not working all day. I mean, I've only spent an hour today. And it's all the only amount of time I had to spend. So there it is. Making progress, but it is slow work. And I'll be back with you. I'm sure I'll work on it tomorrow and see if we can get this case opened up and start to move in the opposite direction. Time to show a little bit of the damage on the heater core for the Jeep Wrangler. There it is. This is the screwed up heater core. This is where the leak was coming from, for sure. And while you're in there, you might as well replace the air conditioning evaporator core. As I said before, this one was very stuffed with a lot of debris. You can see some of it lying here. So I've taken that all out, and the new ones everything's installed in the place here. I managed to salvage all of the the seal. Every seal on it I've managed to salvage and kind of get back in place. All my connections are back on. I lost one clip. There was a clip kind of like this one. I lost it here. And I lost it because when I unclipped it, it shot off into space. I have no idea where it went. No earthly idea where it could be. Everything else is in place. I still need to take this and identify a way to replace this stud. This one's no good. I'll clean the threads on the others probably. Go ahead and clean those threads and chase them, and then identify how I'm going to fix this one. I don't know yet, but when I come up with an answer, I'll try to let you know. Well, as you can see, the dash is for the most part back in. I've got trim parts to put back in place. A little scuffing right here on the side. I don't like that. If I had it to do over again, I would put a piece of cardboard or something in here to keep this part of the dash from getting behind the metal. When I jacked it around, you pull that side this way, and I pull that passenger side away. This side automatically slides toward the steering wheel, and it can easily get trapped behind it, and it did. So I got to put the light switch back in on both sides, tighten everything back up, vacuum it out, clean everything really well, get the seats back in, finish all the trim work. A couple of things that I didn't realize when I started. These studs, I don't know if you can see that, these studs unscrew from the heater box, and it's kind of almost like a wood screw type of thread that goes into the plastic in the heater box. So if you start to pull this loose and the whole stud spins counterclockwise, don't worry about it. Pull it on out of there, save your stud. The problem that I had was I didn't realize that. I ruined the stud because I didn't know that it would just unscrew. Stupid me. So it will unscrew. They would all unscrew from the heater box and you'd be fine. You can clean them up off the vehicle, lube them, get them back in place, no worries. I ended up I found a bolt that is roughly the same length, looks pretty much the same, is the exact same size. I cut the head off the bolt, I welded it back to the washer that goes behind, and put it all back in place and use the original hardware, and I'm good. I did have to cut the nut. And so I found another nut that's actually smaller. Here's the nut that I cut off. I found another nut that's actually smaller than this one. I cut it just enough to relieve it, I guess you might say. So I found one that was actually smaller, a little thinner. It'll go behind the drain, which is back here. It'll go behind that, behind the drain, because you have to put a nut onto the stud, put your plastic drain on. It goes up to the cowl area, fits right up here, and then put another nut on top of that. So I found a smaller nut that'll do that. I painted the battery box and cleaned it up and have it back in place. Getting the O-rings for this, I'm going to vacuum the air conditioning system down and get the new coolant in, and I think from there we'll be in pretty good shape. So this is where we are right now. I got a lot of things to put back together, but it's looking pretty good, and feel pretty good about the process. We'll get it done. I'm going to probably go ahead and re-dye the steering wheel. I'm going to dye it back black again, and then we'll see what happens. And as it turns out, I did see what happened. I put it all back together, and I was looking for my video, some sort of a summary, wrap-up, conclusion, whatever, and I don't have one. So this is the unfinished version, and at some point maybe I'll get a picture up of what it was. But we cleaned everything up, vacuumed everything out. I painted or did rust neutralizing on everything that was rusty, including a few of the surface rust areas in the floor. And it runs great. Heater works fantastically. Did have a little bit of a problem with the thermostat, because it had a thermostat that was too cool. So I've got a video coming up that deals with that as well. But obviously we didn't know that because there was no heat. You can see in the video that the heater core was blocked off. due to the leak. And once I hooked everything back up and my daughter started driving it, she thought it was okay, but I drove it once and I said, hey, this is not warm enough at all. And I had to go back and do some work on that. So that's coming up. Sorry that I don't have a good conclusion here. Not a good story arc. Whenever you start, you have a central element of the theme, and then you don't have the denouement, as it were. But it's the way it works sometimes. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you will stick with me here on It's a Doc's Life. Be sure to subscribe and like the video if you do. If you don't, then fine. And I've got a lot more videos. I got a video coming up with my Mach 1 and more of the 69 F250. But these are videos of just trying to get through everyday life and getting things repaired that have to be repaired before I can go work on the things that I want to work on. So trying to get these posted, and I hope you enjoy a little bit of this anyway, how I kind of look at things. And I'll be back here with another video very soon on It's a Doc's Life. Until then, endeavor to persevere.